I wanted to talk about solitary confinement. If you become convicted of a serious crime and you're sent to prison, it may be that under certain circumstances you are put into solitary confinement. It might be under the terms of your sentencing, or it might be because of something you have done while in prison. Now, what is lesser known or less commonly thought of is that solitary confinement can be something that you voluntarily go into. This would be something on a meditation retreat or a sensory deprivation retreat. Now, my personal experience of solitary confinement has largely been with the 10-day Vipassana retreats. As an experienced student, there are certain things that are given as leeway in your process. And for one, you're given a cell in which you are able to go and meditate, and it's a dedicated place, and it's in the meditative structure that we call the pagoda. And it's basically a 2 meter by 2 meter room. There's no light. Well, there's a light switch that you turn off. And for the record, I do usually sit on a chair. I don't cross my legs. I don't do full lotus or even half Burmese. When I'm in the hall doing the group sessions, I do sit cross-legged, I do sit on my butt, but usually when I'm in the pagoda, I'm sitting on a chair. Now, throughout the structure of the 10-day Vipassana retreat, there are certain things that you have to hit throughout the day. There are certain sessions and moments that you have to be at. In my experience, I've been able to do those requirements and then also have very long stretches of solitary confinement, up to 8 to 10 hours a day, even longer between group sessions and between meals. So often I would skip meals. And being in the solitary confinement space for 5-10 hours can really do a lot to you. It really opens up the physical nature of your body, because of course you're not only in sensory deprivation, in complete darkness and complete silence, but you're also sitting very still. You're not meant to be moving. So much less of the picking the nose, much less scratching your ass, no needing to scratch your elbow or move your arms. And of course, that can have its own challenges, right? A lot of being on a Vipassana retreat a lot of the challenge of being on a Vipassana retreat is the stiffness of it, just the physical nature of it. So in my experience, hang on a second. Kitty wants to go out of the room. Kitty, you want to go out there? You want to go out? You can go out. Come on, little kitty. Go on, little kitty. Oh. Sorry. Kitty wanted to go out. I have to let her out. So what we're talking about is solitary confinement. And for me, my deepest experiences usually came on around day 6 of the 10-day Vipassana retreat. And that is after 6 days of every chance I get going into the pagoda, turning the lights off, closing my eyes, usually with a blindfold, and sitting very still on a chair. Now, what can happen is that you have a long stretch up to 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, and then you come out of it, and it's basically like being hit by a train. Like your whole body and your whole state has gone so deep into silence that your confrontation with the outside world, your exposure to the elements of the fresh air, of the trees, of walking, of having a different sound in the atmosphere, a different ambience, is this shock. It's this huge thing. And of course, another thing that happens throughout the meditation retreat is you think, wow, I really am in prison. This really is what prison is like, which means you don't need to worry about where you're going. You don't need to think about what you're doing next. You don't need to think about where you're going to be, because you know where you're going to be. You know what you're doing next. And you're not even just knowing it for today and for tomorrow and for the next day, but for the next week, for the next 10 days. And you can't really leave because you've committed to it. and there's nothing really else to do but to meditate. And in that space, there's a faculty that changes. There's something very different because we're so often in this thing of where am I going next? What am I going to do next? What do I need to think about? What do I need to organize? What am I planning? Where do I need to be? There's this web or complex that we're in. We might call it the matrix or whatever you want to call it. I don't really need to go there, but it's just there's every day-to-day situation of life. With that faculty removed, with your, in a sense, freedom removed, you get to see what remains. You get to see what else is there. And of course, if you're thinking a lot, it is possible to stay in the thinking process throughout the 10 days entirely. It is possible to go a whole 10 days and to not have an experience of no mind. Now, if you're following the technique and you're actually doing the body scan as Vipassana describes, and you're following the process and the things that are described and explained throughout the 10 days, then you will actually have deeper experiences. You will be having this process of going down into silence more and less of a mind. And yet, with being experienced and with really going hard in the solitary confinement and really sitting still, really being in darkness for as many hours as you can, you open up into something truly magnificent, something that you can't get anywhere else. It's something that you really can't get under any other circumstances. You can't get it without removing that faculty, without removing that thing of where you're going to be, where your next meal is coming from, what you're doing throughout your day or week. You're removing not only the stimuli, not only the noise, not only the music and the internet and all the rest of it. You're removing an entire structure of who you are and an entire ecosystem of a web of influences that are usually pressured onto you. Now, it is possible to sort of flake your way through a 10-day Vipassana retreat. It is possible to sort of turn up late, to sort of, sneak in some little bits of journal writing, or to, listen to some music, or to turn up late, to go to every meal, to sort of sit around, or to look into nature, or to do these sort of things. And, there's nothing wrong with looking in nature at certain points throughout the process. That's very powerful as well, and it's very much a great support to the process. But you can look at nature as a kind of distraction. You can look at it as a kind of what am I doing? Yes. That's very different. That way of going through the process is very different to, okay, I'm going to go to every session. I'm going to sit fully still in every session. And as soon as the session is over, I'm going to go straight to the pagoda and I'm going to sit there with my eyes closed. And I'm going to sit there non-stop until the gong goes off for the next session, right? Or if in the case of what I was doing, you would go after the next meal, after the next break, and then the next session, yeah? So the longest gap you can get is from, there's a morning session from 9 till 10, or something, maybe it's 8 till 9. Anyways, there's some morning session, and then you can go all the way through till the afternoon session, and then through again to the evening session. So that's very different, right? That's long stretches of solitary confinement. That's long stretches of darkness, long stretches of sitting still and sensing what is this thing when it's removed from all the stuff that it's normally involved in. You can't see that unless you cut it off. You can't see that unless you close your eyes, put earplugs in, and sit perfectly still in darkness. There's no other way to learn it. Now, it is a very psychedelic experience. You can have experiences of nebula in the psychedelic realms, but you can also have extreme experiences of just silence, dead, cold, plain silence. And that can be, of course, an amazing time warp. It can be a beautiful thing. It can also be a tedious thing. It can be a very driving, sort of clenching thing, or a kind of masculine, hard, pushing sort of thing. So it's really a experience that is unique unto itself, and the lessons you learn from it are very profound and very unique and absolutely unique, absolutely individual to you, right? They're unique to your situation and your process. And of course, it is different to being in prison for having committed a crime, because at the end of the 10 days, you get to go back to your life and you don't have all the consequences of having committed a crime. And ultimately, in a Vipassana retreat, you can actually leave. I mean, you're not really supposed to, but strictly speaking, if you really have to, you can leave. So that's very different to being in prison. But this is a little bit about my experiences on the 10-day Vipassana retreats. I've done more of those retreats than I would care to admit. So let me know what your experiences are. I'd love to have this as an ongoing discussion with you.